experience strange coincidences in life, but our next guest says that those moments are actually more common than we actually think. And I recently spoke to Dr. Bernard Beitman about his fascinating new book. It's called Connecting with Coincidence. Dr. Beitman, thank you so much for joining us here today on CT Style.
Great to be here.
I have to ask you, you're a professional in the world of coincidence. Is it a coincidence that you got into it? It seems to be quite the particular field.
It's a very specific field that is quite general. By that I mean it hasn't been well studied. Carl Jung started it in the Western world, but my research has demonstrated that people experience coincidences on a regular basis, some people more than others. So I've decided to try to organize the different kinds of coincidences and see how they can be useful to people, and to see how to explain them, because there are many different explanations for coincidences and many different uses.
What are some common ones? Because oftentimes, as you were just stating, they seem to be kind of common and they happen, but you don't know really how to react to them. So what advice do you have people who might have a coincidence and say, oh, what do I do now?
Well, that's great. The most common ones are thinking of someone and that person surprisingly calls you on the phone. Others are think of a question, perhaps, and then the question gets answered by the media, by TV. Somebody might get a question answered right now as we're talking, or by the internet, or just by hearing someone talking. So those are common ones. Another common one is being in the right place at the right time to get a job.
Huh. Now, is there a scientific explanation behind this? And we'll get back to the job portion of that.
That's what I'm looking for. The most common explanations are divinity, God, fate, or randomness. And what I'm trying to bring to the general public is the awareness of our own participation in the creation of these coincidences. Namely, that we have some responsibility in creating them. And if we have some responsibility in creating them, can we, if we want, create more? And I think the answer is yes.
Let's talk a little bit about jobs, as you were mentioning before. You have a unique story of somebody who was on a flight who thought that they were going for the gig of their dreams, and it didn't quite end so well for them.
That was really a failed coincidence. Some of these things promise a lot and don't deliver, and you got the story right. It was a guy named Alan Combs who used to be on Hannity and Combs on Fox News, and he was on a plane looking for a job, talked to the boss of the guy who was going to interview him.
No kidding.
It went very well. I mean, the guy even switched seats because somebody else wanted to sit where he was sitting. They had a great conversation. Alan thought, well, wow, this is going to happen. And he was flying back the next day and it didn't work. So coincidences can be like that. They can promise and not deliver. But there are a lot of times people meet their loved ones on airplanes, the person of their future, or do find job or partnership connections just by somewhat random seeming meetings on airplanes, sitting down next to somebody.
Well, I don't think it'll be random or a coincidence to come on out and grab the book. Again, it is called Connecting with Coincidence. You guys can check it out on Amazon. And of course, Doctor, we want to thank you for joining us today here on CT Style. And you were in our neck of the woods back in the day, I hear.
I was at Yale Medical School for 4 years and loved it.
All right. Well, thank you for coming back here to CT via Skype, Elise. It was great to have you on the show. Again, you guys got to check the book out online. It is Connecting with Coincidence.